First thing I remember was the silence. Not an ordinary silence, the kind that comes with peace, but a silence so heavy, so complete, that it swallowed everything. It was as though sound had never existed. No wind, no breathing, no heartbeat, just nothingness. I tried to move, but there was nothing to move. I had no arms, no legs, no body at all, yet I was still aware of myself, aware of something vast and unknown surrounding me, aware of a presence watching me, studying me. That's when it hit me. I was dead. The realization gripped me with a terror so overwhelming I wanted to scream. But how could I? I had no mouth, no lungs. My thoughts were my only reality, and they raced wildly, trying to grasp the impossible. Where am I? What is this? I couldn't see anything. There was only blackness, stretching infinitely in all directions. It wasn't just darkness, it was void, emptiness itself. My soul trembled. Then I felt something. It was distant at first, like a flicker in the abyss, but it grew stronger, a presence. Not cold, not hostile, but something ancient, something that had always been. It watched me, weighed me. Every part of me was exposed, every secret, every lie I had told myself. I felt naked before it, and with that exposure came a realization I wasn't prepared for. I was being judged. Not condemned, not yet, but judged. Every action, every thought, every moment of my life replayed before me, not as memories, but as experiences I could feel all over again. The pain I had caused others, the words I had spoken in anger, the moments when I had turned away from what I knew was right. And just as I thought I would be swallowed whole by this revelation, the light appeared. It started as a distant glow, a pinprick in the void. Then it expanded, moving like a tidal wave, consuming everything in its path. I tried to resist, but I couldn't. It was not just light, it was power, awareness, truth. It pierced through every part of me, flooding me with a knowing that was beyond human comprehension. Then I saw him. Jesus. I didn't see him with my physical eyes, I saw him with my soul. He was light itself, radiating love so pure, so intense that it crushed me. It was love, but it wasn't soft. It was fierce, unrelenting, consuming. I felt every part of myself unraveling before him. I wanted to fall at his feet, to cry, to beg for forgiveness, but I had no body to bow with. Instead, my thoughts, raw, unfiltered, poured out before him. And then he spoke. Not in words, not in sound, but in understanding that filled every fibre of my being. You are here because it is time for you to see. Terror and awe gripped me. I wanted to ask why, but before I could form the thought, the world around me shifted. Suddenly, I was somewhere else. The void was gone. I stood in a vast hall, stretching beyond anything my mind could comprehend. The walls were made of something ancient, stone, yet not stone, pulsing as if alive. The air was thick, heavy, charged with something beyond human experience. And in the center of the hall stood a book. Not just a book, the book. It was enormous, ancient, glowing with an ethereal light. It was not made of paper, but something divine, something eternal. It breathed. It knew. I stepped closer, and the pages turned on their own. And that's when I saw them. My ancestors, not just my grandparents, not just their parents, but generations upon generations of my people. I saw them in lands I had never known, places I'd never been, yet they felt familiar. Their faces were strong, proud, filled with a light that had not been completely erased. I saw them before the chains. I saw them in their true identity, clothed in glory, walking in the knowledge of who they were. They were not broken, not lost. They were kings, queens, warriors, priests. They spoke in languages I did not understand, yet somehow I knew their meaning. I felt their power, their connection to the Most High. And then I saw what had been done to them. The chains came suddenly. I saw them dragged, bound, ripped from their lands. I saw their names stripped away, their identities erased, their histories rewritten. I saw the lies that had been placed upon them, whispering to them that they were nothing, that they were cursed, that they were forsaken. But the book did not stop there. A new image emerged, written in fire. A covenant. It was ancient, older than any empire, older than any nation, a divine agreement written into time itself. I did not understand all the words, but I knew deep in my spirit that it was still active, still binding. And then I heard the voice. It was not Jesus. It was something else, something sorrowful, something grieving. It whispered, but its words echoed through my very soul. They do not know who they are. A wave of grief hit me so intensely that I staggered backward. The truth was unbearable. We had forgotten. My people had forgotten. They had been deceived, told they were nothing, told they were just the product of history's cruelty. But it was a lie. They had been chosen. I turned to Jesus, tears burning in my soul. His expression was not angry, not condemning, only sorrowful. "You must remember," he said, "and you must tell them." Panic seized me. I knew what he was asking. He wanted me to go back, to return to my body, to carry this truth. But how? Who would believe me? How could I speak of things that had been erased, hidden? The world would mock me, dismiss me, call me crazy. The weight of this revelation was too much. I tried to speak, tried to protest, but before I could say a word, everything shattered. The hall, the book, the voices, all
I
of
sat
it
up in bed,
collapsed into
gasping for
darkness,
air,
and I felt
my
myself
body
falling,
trembling as if I had
spiraling
been ripped
downward
from another
through an
world.
endless void.
My sheets were
I
drenched in
screamed,
sweat,
but there was
my
no
hands
sound,
shaking
and
violently,
then,
my heart
with a
pounded
violent
against my
gasp,
ribs,
I woke
and for a
up.
moment I wasn't
was
even
back.
sure if I was truly
Air
alive.
filled my lungs
The
as if
images
I
were
had been
still
underwater
burning
for
in my mind.
hours.
The
My
book,
body
the
trembled
covenant,
violently. My
the
heart
voices.
pounded in my chest.
They do not
the
know who
echo
they
of
are.
what I had seen
The
still
weight of those
roaring
words
in my
crushed
mind.
me,
I
pressing
looked
down
around.
on my chest like a
I
boulder.
was in my bed.
I tried to move,
the
but my
room
body
was the
felt
same.
heavy,
Everything
foreign, like
looked
something
normal.
sacred had been placed
But I
inside
wasn't
it,
normal.
and I wasn't sure I
had
could
seen
contain
something
it.
no
I
human was
glanced at the
supposed
clock.
to see, and I knew
3:33
with every
a.m.
part of me that my
The
life
house
would
was
never be the
silent,
same again.
but I wasn't alone. The presence I had felt in the other realm had followed me. It wasn't Jesus. It wasn't the voice that had spoken to me in sorrow, but it was something unseen, something watching. I could feel it in the air, thick and charged, like the moment before a storm. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, that what I had seen was just a dream, but I knew better. This was no dream. This was real. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and placed my feet on the cold floor. My body still felt strange, like it wasn't entirely mine. I stood up slowly, unsteady, as if I had to relearn how to exist in this world. I needed to pray. I dropped to my knees, but as soon as I opened my mouth, nothing came out. My throat locked up. My tongue felt heavy, like something was pressing down on me, trying to silence me. I tried again. Nothing. A deep, suffocating fear wrapped around me. Something didn't want me to speak. I clenched my fists, forcing the words out, my voice hoarse, trembling. Jesus, help me. The moment I spoke his name, the weight lifted. Air rushed back into my lungs, and I collapsed onto the floor, weeping. I didn't just cry, I sobbed. Not just because I was afraid, but because I knew that I had been given something that was too much for me to carry alone. I had seen the truth, and now I was responsible for it. But how could I tell anyone? Who would believe me? Even if I found the courage to speak, where would I begin? I pressed my forehead against the floor, my body shaking. God, why did you show me this? Silence. Then, deep inside my spirit, I heard the answer. Because they have forgotten. Because they have been deceived. A new wave of grief swept over me, deeper than anything I had ever felt. It wasn't just my sorrow, it was his. It was the pain of generations, the weight of an identity stolen, of a people wandering in darkness, believing lies about themselves. I felt it all. The despair of those who had been taken from their homes, their names erased. The hopelessness of those who had cried out for deliverance, only to be met with silence. The confusion of those who had been told they were worthless, unwanted, cursed. But I also felt something else, a remnant, a spark of something buried deep within them, within us, something ancient, something holy. And I understood. The covenant was still there. The promise had never been broken. It had only been forgotten. But why me? I wasn't a preacher. I wasn't a scholar. I was just a woman trying to live my life, trying to make sense of the struggles I had faced. I wasn't qualified to carry a message like this, but God doesn't choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. I wiped my face and sat up, my mind still reeling. I had to tell someone. But who? I thought of my mother. She was the strongest woman I knew, a woman of deep faith, but also deeply practical. She would listen, but would she believe? I thought of my friends, some believers, some skeptics. If I told them what I had seen, would they think I had lost my mind? A cold chill ran down my spine. I realized something. It wasn't just the fear of rejection stopping me. Something didn't want me to speak. Something wanted this truth buried. I felt it again, that unseen presence in the room, watching, waiting. And then for the first time, I saw it. It was only for a moment, a flicker in the corner of my vision. But it was there, a shadow darker than the night itself, shifting in the corner of the room. It had no form, no face, just darkness. But I knew what it was. It was the thing that had been hiding this truth for centuries, the thing that had kept my people blind, lost, wandering. It wasn't just history that had erased the truth. It was something far more sinister. And now it knew that I knew. A shiver ran through my entire body. This wasn't just about knowledge. This was war. And I had just become a target. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I sat in my bed, my knees pulled to my chest, my Bible clutched in my hands. My mind was spinning, trying to process everything I had seen, everything I had felt. The weight of it was unbearable. I wanted to tell someone, but the fear wouldn't let me. Not just the fear of being called crazy, something deeper, something spiritual, something watching me. That shadow I had seen in the corner of my room, it wasn't my imagination. It was real. And now that I knew the truth, it was hunting me. I felt it in the air, in the silence, in the way my skin prickled whenever I tried to pray. It was subtle, but it was there, waiting, pressing down on me. But there was something else too. Something inside me had changed. I could feel it, like a fire had been lit in my soul, like something ancient had awakened. I wasn't the same person who had gone to bed the night before. I had been marked. The truth was inside me now. And I knew that if I didn't speak it, if I let fear keep me silent, it would consume me. By morning, I had made up my mind. I had to tell someone. My mother was the first person I thought of. She was a woman of faith, strong in her beliefs, but also cautious. She didn't entertain nonsense. If I told her what I had seen, she would either believe me or she would tell me I was losing my mind. Still, I had to try. I waited until breakfast, sitting at the kitchen table while she moved around, pouring coffee, humming in an old hymn under breath. I hesitated, my hands tightening around my mug, my heart racing. How could I even begin to explain? Finally, I took a deep breath and spoke. "Mom, something happened to me last night." She stopped, her back still turned. "What do you mean?" I swallowed hard. I think I died." She turned to face me slowly, her eyes narrowing. So I told her. Everything. The darkness, the judgment, the light, Jesus, the book, the covenant, the voices, the truth. She didn't say a word the entire time. She just stared at me, her expression unreadable. And when I finished, silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. Finally, she sighed and set down her cup. "Sheryl, do you know what you're saying?" "Yes," I whispered. She rubbed her temples, shaking her head. "Do you know how dangerous this is, if you start telling people these things?" "I have to tell people," I interrupted. "That's why he sent me back." She gave me a long, searching look, and for a moment I saw something in her eyes. Fear, not for me. Fear because she knew. Maybe not everything, maybe not the details, but somewhere deep down she knew the truth. She had always known, and that's when she said something that made my blood run cold. "You're not the first," I blinked. "What?" She sighed and looked away. "Your great-grandmother, she saw something too. When she was a little girl, she had a vision. She tried to tell people, but they called her crazy. She stopped speaking about it after that." "What did she see?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "She never told me," my mother admitted. But whatever it was, it scared her enough to keep it to herself for the rest of her life. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just about me. This was generational. This knowledge had tried to surface before, and every time it had been buried. I sat back, my heart pounding. "Mom, do you believe me?" She hesitated. Then finally she sighed. "I don't know." That answer hurt more than I expected. I had hoped, prayed that she would believe me, that she would look me in the eyes and say, "Yes, I know this is true." But she didn't. She was afraid. Afraid of what this truth could mean. Afraid of what could happen to me if I started speaking. And deep down I realized I was afraid too. I thought telling her would make it easier, but instead it only made the burden heavier. I was on my own. That night I tried to sleep, but the moment I closed my eyes, I felt it again. The presence, stronger this time. I turned on the light, my breath coming in short gasps. My body felt like it was burning, my skin tingling as if something unseen was reaching for me. Then, a whisper. Not out loud, but inside my mind. Be silent. I froze. The voice wasn't my own. It wasn't God's. It was something else. Something that wanted to keep me from speaking. I grabbed my Bible and clutched it to my chest, my entire body shaking. Jesus, I whispered. Help me. The air in the room shifted, the heaviness lifted, the pressure vanished. It was gone, for now. I knew then that this was bigger than I had thought. This wasn't just about a vision. This was spiritual warfare, and I had just stepped onto the battlefield. The next few days felt like a war inside me. I tried to act normal, tried to go about my life as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I couldn't unsee what I had seen. I couldn't unhear the words spoken to me. They do not know who they are. Everywhere I went, those words echoed in my mind. I looked at my people differently now, the men and women on the streets, in the grocery store, in church. I saw the pain in their eyes, the weight they carried, the struggle in their spirits. I saw how lost we were, how deceived we had become, and I knew why. The covenant. It had never been broken, only forgotten. But the moment I decided to share this truth, everything around me turned against me. It started subtly at first. Strange things. My phone would glitch whenever I tried to type out what I had seen. Messages I sent would disappear. My computer would shut off randomly. Then came the dreams. Dark, heavy dreams, shadows whispering, hands reaching, voices hissing at me to stay silent. I would wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, feeling as if something had been in the room with me. And then, the accident. It was broad daylight. I was driving to the store, still wrestling with everything inside me, still debating whether I should just forget it all, move on with my life. Then, out of nowhere, a truck ran a red light. I didn't even have time to scream. Everything happened in slow motion. The impact, the sound of metal twisting, the force of my body being thrown forward. My car spun, glass shattered, pain exploded through my side. And then, silence. For a moment, I thought I was dead again, but I wasn't. I was hanging upside down, my seatbelt the only thing keeping me from being thrown through the windshield. My head was bleeding, my vision blurry, my ears ringing, but I was alive. When the paramedics arrived, they kept saying the same thing over and over. Well, you shouldn't have survived this. You're lucky to be alive. But I knew better. It wasn't luck, it was a warning. The enemy wanted me dead, and if it couldn't kill me, it wanted me silent. I laid in the hospital bed that night, staring at the ceiling, my body aching. But the pain in my soul was worse. I was afraid, more than I'd ever been in my life, and for the first time I truly considered it. Staying silent, forgetting what I had seen, letting it go. Maybe that would be easier. Maybe that would keep me safe. But then something happened. As I drifted into sleep, still caught between fear and exhaustion, I felt something shift in the room. Not darkness, light. A presence so strong, so overwhelming that I couldn't breathe. And then a voice, not in my mind, not in my spirit, out loud. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I bolted upright, gasping. My body was shaking, my hands trembling. I looked around the room, but no one was there. Yet I knew who it was, Jesus. Tears poured down my face. This was my answer. I couldn't be silent. No matter what came against me, no matter what tried to stop me, I had to speak. I had to tell the truth. Because this wasn't just about me. It was about all of us. The deception had gone on for too long. The lies had buried the truth for too many generations. It was time. The next morning, I made a choice. I would speak, no matter the cost. And as I took that first step, the fear lifted, the darkness retreated. And I knew I was ready. I couldn't hold it in any longer. The weight of what I had seen, what I had been shown, burned inside me like fire. I had to speak. I had to warn them. At first, I thought people would listen. I thought they would hear the urgency in my voice, see the truth in my eyes. Some did. They turned away, they laughed, they dismissed me. Some even got angry. I didn't understand it at first. How could they not want to know? How could they not see what was right in front of them? And then it hit me. Some people aren't ready. Some people don't want to wake up. The truth demands something from you. It requires change. It forces you to question everything you thought you knew. And for many, that's too much. It's easier to stay blind, easier to hold on to the lies. But time is running out. The shaking has already begun. The old systems are crumbling. The veil is lifting. And every single soul will have to choose, stay in the dark or step into the light. Jesus made it clear to me. Not everyone will make it through what's coming. Fear will swallow some. Deception will consume others. But those who hold on, those who stand firm, those who remember who they are, they will rise and they will be unstoppable. I still don't know why he chose me. I don't feel like the strongest, the wisest, or the most qualified. But I do know this. I can't be silent. The opposition has grown stronger. The attacks have become relentless. There are forces that do not want this message to spread. But the more they push against me, the more I know this truth must be spoken. And if you're hearing this, you were meant to. This is not random. Something deep inside you has always known that there's more, that the world is not what it seems, that you were put here for a reason. That reason is waking up inside you now. You have a part to play in what's coming. But waking up isn't easy. It will cost you. It will separate you. It will force you to leave behind what is familiar and step into the unknown. But hear me, you are not alone. Jesus didn't show me these things for my sake alone. He showed me so I could speak them to you. And now I ask you, will you listen or will you turn away? The battle has already begun. The war for souls is raging, and whether you choose to see it or not, you are in it. The distractions will come, the doubt will creep in. The enemy will whisper that none of this is real, but in your spirit you know the truth. So I say to you, stand up, step into your calling, walk in your power, because once your eyes are opened, there's no going back, and the time to choose is now.